Hey, this is Charlotte over at Gamers Hunt, and I am super excited because I'm actually sharing with you a commander deck. I think this is actually my first deck tech of my personal decks that I've gotten to share with you guys. But with the new Dungeons & Dragons set, I had to build one. There were so many great options though. There were Tiamat, there was dungeon crawls. Personally though, I went with Volo, Guide to Monsters. Main reason I did is he's actually one of my favorite Dungeons & Dragons characters. He's kind of this charlatan who embellishes on his big adventures, describing monsters that he's never even met. He's a lot like the Gilderoy Lockhart from Harry Potter, if you remember that. But I like to think of him as a much more lovable character, the kind of guy who's sitting at a bar, who doesn't let facts get in the way of good stories. So that's him. He's got a lot of beautiful little options you can use for him as your commander. If you're like me, you don't want the foils. You want just the straight up good old guy right here. So what he does is whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you can control or a creature card in your graveyard, you copy that spell. He was incredibly appealing to me, not just because of his character, but also because I love tribal, and this is kind of like the anti-tribal deck. Now there's a few builds I've seen where they try to get rid of the graveyard, stuff like that, so that you can recast different creatures. I went with the opposite way though. I wanted just a menagerie of all kinds of different creatures. So I tried not to have anything that would overlap with it. Having said that though, once your opponents realize how insanely good Volo is, I suggest you put in what I call the Protect Volo options. There's a lot of different counter spells you can put in it. These just happen to be the ones that I picked. Heroic Intervention, helping protect all your creatures as well as him. Lightning Greaves is definitely not to give him haste. You're not going to be swinging in with that bad boy. It's just to make him a little bit more protected with Shroud. Yeah, you could put in Swiftfoot Boots too if you wanted, Whisper Silk Cloak, anything like that that's going to help keep him on the board. Or make sure that he doesn't get countered. But let's take a look then at the menagerie that I put together for us. Again, I tried to make it so there weren't any creatures that had overlap, so to speak. I think actually the only weirdly creature that I have that's the same is going to be a bird. I have the gilded goose bird, and then I also have the owl bear. I don't know. I just had to play owlbear, so that just happened. So these ones are what I call my utilitarian creatures. I've got my cat snake to make it so that my creatures aren't being countered, because what fun is that? You've got different ramping creatures. You'll notice this package doesn't have things like Llanowar elves and stuff like that, because you really don't want to have that overlap. You want to make sure that your ramps are different stuff. So we've got our merfolk, we've got our plant, we got our bird. I try not to have too many things like the elf druid, because that hits two things. It means I can't have another druid and I can't have another elf. But my god, is Beast Whisperer more than worth that spot, because he's a beast. He's amazing. You're gonna be drawing so many cards off of him, and I'm so excited to have an excuse to play this little guy right here. He's just freaking adorable. He does all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. Pause and read him if you want. But who doesn't want to pick me hippo? Okay, so the other thing that I tried to do in this is to have a lot of creatures that have ETB triggers, because you're going to be getting a copy of it, so you want to be getting those things multiple times. You've got, of course, your Mole Drifter, you've got your Sad Robot, you've got your Owl Bear. I liked this elk just because it helps kill other things. I tried not to put too many things in this deck that are like card draw, for instance. I want my creatures to be drawing me my cards. I don't want to necessarily put spells that draw them. Acidic Slime, get rid of all kinds of good stuff. Who doesn't love Terracidon? Old Donny Boy. Just give everybody a bunch of elephants. Such a good excuse to finally get to play this card. And then this blue dragon. Well, that doesn't even have ETB. I don't know. I just really like that card. There are definitely better cards to put in here, and I'll go through some of those later, but these are just my little pet cards that I like. All right, these are my heavy hitters, as I like to call them. This is gonna help you draw more cards with becoming the monarch. This is going to be helping to be a finisher because it's going to give all your other creatures +2/+2 trample. This is the insect I picked mostly because of the art, because I love it. However, when I've played it, it almost always has +10/+10 because you're going to be playing so many lands. You've got so much ramp in this deck. It's a beast. Oh my god, this one is so much fun. Fairy Artisans. Not only are you getting a copy of it, then you're going to be making copies of people's copies. It's so much fun. People bring out their big fatty and you're like, yes, don't mind if I do. And then we've got Apex and Sweet Gum Recluse. Both of these have Cascade, but who doesn't want to Cascade once when you can Cascade, Cascade, Cascade? You're going to get all kinds of fun fatties off the top of those. These 4 creatures I like to call the Win More cards. They're not really necessary, but it just means that you are taking full advantage of getting these triggers when they come into play. So Seedborn Muse, Great Whale, Peregrine Drake, all of those ones are really just designed to float a bunch of mana, make it so that you're being able to play things on other people's turns. Yeah, you don't want to play fair. You're Volo. You're here to tell big stories, and you need a lot of mana to tell big stories with. This Mimic is just bananas. It's just, yeah, I don't really need to even say anything about it. You're just making copies of copies of copies of copies. So, it's good times. All right, so you'll notice most of my creatures are not legendary, and that's very much on purpose. Because when the legendary creature enters the battlefield, you make a copy of it with Volo, and then you have to sack one of your legendary creatures because, you know, that's the rules of legendary. However, these are the creatures that I call the just too good not to play. And these ones are all legendaries, but they either have such phenomenal enter the battlefield triggers like Uro. I don't even care that I have to sack one of them. He's just so good. You still get 2 copies of him. Plus with his escape trigger here, you get him again to come out of the graveyard. So yes, please. Flip, just because, yeah, I mean, I want to draw cards and I want to play Homunculus, and why wouldn't I? I really enjoy this one. It's going to help protect a lot of your creatures. And it's also going to give you card draw. It's good. Plus it's themey. Come on, we're in D&D. Thassa, because you want to be blinking your stuff that has all those good ETB triggers that you have going on. Yeah, so those are my creatures. Now, I will say that it was hard picking those out. You can build this deck with a lot of stuff. Like, for instance, my Blue Dragon, it's not that good. I would recommend probably doing Steel Hellkite. I just like the other one. Craterhoof Behemoth is probably a better beast than the one I picked. Horror, there's Frog Hemoth or Mind Slayer that would be great for your insect. Giant Apathimage. Sorry, I can't pronounce anything. If you've ever seen any of my videos, you know that. Or Scutsworm would be another really good insect. So you've got a lot of really good options. All right, those fatties ain't cheap, so you've got to be able to do a lot of ramping. So this is the ramp package I picked. There's a lot of good stuff you could put in here. Weirdly enough, I don't think Rampant Growth is good enough, but we've got 3 visits, you've got your Cultivate, Growth Spiral, fantastic, and then just some rocks, because, you know, we're in Commander, and we should be playing with rocks. You, of course, could up this, you could do Grim Monolith, you could do Mana Vault, all those goodies. Personally, in this particular build, I wasn't going that hard into making it super competitive, so I just wanted to help facilitate building all this stuff. Also, this is the first time I've ever played with Sword of Amethyst. It's so good. It's great. You're thinning out your deck. You're getting more lands. I don't know. I guess I should have been playing with it more. But it is excellent. Okay, these cards are what I like to call the helper cards of artifacts and enchantments. These cards really just help facilitate all of the stuff that you're trying to do with your creatures. Great Hinge, I don't even have to talk about it. It's so stupid good. You're gaining life. You're putting counters on creatures. You're drawing cards. It's dumb. Both of these are excellent. So you're not going to get these triggers with Volo, but you will get those ETB triggers and stuff like that multiple times. So yes. I actually just really like this one for giving your tokens flying. I may take it out eventually, but I wanted to play with it for a little while. I can't imagine ever using this bottom effect of creating a 4/4 beast, but I don't know, maybe you will. Maybe if someone targets your creature and you don't want to lose a creature on the battlefield, you could use it. It could be good. Ley Line of Anticipation is really just to go hand in hand with like the Seedborn Muse, stuff like that. Make it so you can play on other people's turns, because why take one turn when you can take 4 turns? Same with Wilderness Reclamation, it's just a aid with that. And then these, Garrick's Uprising, I actually largely play it for the trample ability, because it sucks to have a whole bunch of giant things that are just getting chump blocked all day. And this is just for card draw. These are just win more cards. Again, just pushing through with your creatures when you want to go in for the kill. This one, Uncaged, the Menagerie, it's just so themey. I really want Viscera of Menagerie, but I just don't have a copy of it right now. But again, just want to go into that theme of a lot of that. This one's great, card draw, or you can beef up your creatures, more card draw. And why have 1 token when you could have so many more tokens? Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this package is kind of pathetic. I maybe should work on finding other things to put in here, but these are your main, like, if your opponent's getting out of hand, these cards will do you well. Cyclonic Rift, if you're playing blue, you have to play this card. You just do. Beast Within, it's themey too, I like that. And then Reality Shift is just a good way to help deal with some other stuff. My plan, again, is to have like my creatures take care of other people's problems, like Terracodon, stuff like that. I want my creatures to be dealing with my problems, not my spells. All right, these are my lands. I don't think there's really anything interesting about my lands. This, of course, is a new card that came out with Modern Horizons 2, and it's just great. I have these in here because I want to have a little bit of mana sink later, and again, we're going a little bit Dungeons & Dragons themey. This one's just fun. I like the hideaway effect. You're gonna need this. You're drawing so many cards. I did not realize how many cards until I started playing this. It's bananas. Also, why wouldn't I? Field of Ruin, that way you can ruin someone's day. Again, this is to help make it so that you are playing on other people's turns. And then the rest of my lands are, you know, they're just lands. You want to get some multicolored stuff like that. I've been playing a lot more basics in my commander decks than I used to. I don't know. All right, so that is my Volo Guide to Monsters deck. Leave some comments. Tell me some ideas that you have. What are the creatures you want to be playing with? I've had so much fun with this. It just gets out of hand so quickly. Oh, which reminds me, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was how you're going to have 10 million copies, and you suddenly are going to be like, the Seedborn Muse has a copy of a copy, and that was very tricky for me to figure out what to do, because you're sitting here playing and you've got a copy underneath it, right? But then this dies and you have like 20 other copies and you don't remember which copy is what. So I was trying to figure out what to do. One option you could do is potentially print out a bunch of proxies so that you have it, but then you basically have 2 decks. So I came up with this thing that I think is pretty clever. I put these in perfect fits, and then I just write out what the card is with a dry erase marker, and then you can put it on it. You remember then that this is a Beast Whisperer, and then at the end of the game, you can wipe it off with water. So anyway, tell me what you think about that, and if you have a deck you want to share, send it in.